Thanks for checking out the Campfire Conversationalist podcast. Today, John and myself, DreadMatt, we'll be talking about some basic survival skills that we think everybody should try to incorporate into their life just in case something happens, like your car breaks down or zombies come to eat your face off, whatever. Anyways, thanks a lot for checking out the Campfire Conversationalist podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and YouTube. Talk about us if you like us in social media, share, and thanks for listening. And here we go. Once again, this is the Campfire Conversationalist podcast, and this is DreadMatt, and that is John. And we are going to talk about some basic survival skills that I think everyone should utilize. They need to have stuff that's affordable for literally almost anybody, no matter what your budget is. I mean, dude, if you're homeless, you could probably collect cans and do what I'm telling you. If you've got a tent and pot to cook on or whatever. Not a pot to piss in, but a pot to cook on. So yeah, we started recording this and I realized I wasn't streaming this like a doofus. And before John was showing me some of these tablets that he had actually, I won't say he introduced me to them. I had heard of them before, but he's the first person I had ever known that actually had them, and he showed them to me in real life, not just on the internet. So these tablets are like a compact.
These are, well, let me point out, these are just one of the type of wipes that you can get out there. I mean, they all come in these little tablets. And if you can read on there, hold on, multi-purpose wipes. So these are just one type, okay? And I'll even pull one out. Hold on.
Yeah, I have some too, and I got mine on Amazon, and they're really, they're not super cheap, but I mean, there's enough of them in a bag to last you a pretty long time.
And they're super strong.
Yeah, yeah, like you could pull on them and they won't rip like a paper towel or whatever. They're way stronger than a paper towel.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I think these are really handy for a million different reasons. Number one, they're obviously used for wiping your booty. And if 2020 taught us anything, wiping your booty, people tend to freak out when there's nothing to wipe your booty.
That being said, post 100 years ago, no one had toilet paper. Post probably 50 years ago, most people didn't have toilet paper.
What did they use?
Or not post. God, I don't know what I'm saying. Newspaper, whatever, sticks, leaves. I have no idea. But I mean, I don't think toilet paper's been around for that long.
Look it up. Let's fact check.
Okay, let's fact check. Oh,
hey, wait. So I'm gonna demonstrate. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and.
So I have a tea here, and you can use any type of liquid, but I have a tea here, so I'm gonna use my tea, and I'm just gonna stick my pinky in there, dab some on, and it doesn't take much. Of course, this time it would take like a ton.
Yeah, I actually saw a kit on Amazon that came with a dispenser that you can like put in your, if you're a woman, a purse, or I guess if in your pocket or backpack if you're a man. And it holds the exact amount of water you need for one tablet. And it came with the bag for free. Now, I don't have that one. I found that one after I had already bought the bag that I have. Yeah. But yeah, you don't need a whole lot of water or liquid. I will say, I think we had a situation, I don't remember what happened, where someone was bleeding, not bad, little cut or whatever. And I tried using alcohol, and alcohol does not soak into these very well. But H2O2, hydrogen peroxide, does. So if you want to use these for like I don't want to say like someone's bleeding out and they're dying, but like, if someone's got like a minor cut or abrasion and you just that's what you have available right there. It's the first thing you have, and you have some hydrogen peroxide. You can pour hydrogen peroxide on that. It'll absorb it, and you can put that right on a wound right away, and it works really well. So I've tested that myself.
You've used it on blood?
Yeah.
That's a really good idea, dude.
Yeah, I don't remember what made me think of it, but I think it might have just been the only thing in reach at the moment, and someone was bleeding.
So this is what it is when it's fully expanded. It's ridiculously big, you know. And to pull it, it's made out of like a pulp fiber. And to pull it apart, I mean, there.
Yeah, they're actually pretty tough.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna put in the comment the link I found for toilet paper. It says roughly 83 or something. I mean, I don't think it was being used everywhere then. Maybe that's when people started using it and it got popular. That's according to Wikipedia again. I don't know that I necessarily believe Wikipedia, but that was just a quick search. So toilet paper's been around for maybe 125 or 30 years roughly. So before that, who knows? So people were using their fingers. I don't know. I prefer a bidet. I want to use a bidet every day. I just can't afford one because I'm a normal person, but like I said, I want to use a bidet every day.
Right.
So my Patreon, if anyone is, Patreon at DreadMat, whatever. If anyone wants to hook me up with a bidet or whatever. I
have one. I just haven't installed it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, they're actually fairly cheap. I think you can find a decent one for like that hooks up to your toilet for like $50-$60.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they might work okay. Since I've actually never used a real bidet, I have nothing to compare it to.
Right.
But I imagine that's better than using your fingers in a sticky situation. Okay, so the point of this go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say these the reason I like these is so this bag right here has, I don't know if you can see, but it has 100. Okay. Each one of these, you can probably get, I would say, 2 wipes out of. So each tablet, 2 wipes. If you were in a really, like, desperate, you could probably stretch that further. I don't know if I would be willing to do that, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because I grew up in like a wooded area, and I have used all kinds of things, leaves. I've used everything. I think one time I tried to use skunk weed, and that was kind of like not good, but at least it wasn't like my friend that tried to use poison ivy unknowingly.
One time I had an emergency situation, and I was working with Eric at the time. For those of you who don't know, he was a good buddy of mine. He literally disappeared. I don't know where he is anymore. And I haven't talked to him in years. I talked to his brother all the time, but I literally don't know what happened to him. But we used to work together, and I was his employee, and we were waiting for a customer to get home, and I had to go. I'm like, dude, I gotta go. And he's like, well, we can't leave the customer and show up, and I don't want him, to show up and we're not here.
Yeah.
So if anybody who's ever done manual labor will know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you probably won't know what I'm talking about. But I'm sure you've used those like cloth brown gloves. They're good for a couple of uses depending on what you're using them for. They're like maybe $1 a pair. You know what I'm talking about? They're brown. They're made of cloth. They're not really like super durable, but if you're just using them for the day or whatever, they work. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Those brown gloves. Yeah, I used those one time.
I've used socks.
Yeah.
Use what you gotta use.
Go ahead and keep talking. I'm gonna go grab my bag of tablets, and
all right,
I'll show what I have. Go ahead.
All right. So the good thing about these, the thing that I think they're so handy for. So number one, this is a small bag of 100, but they will go a very long time because you're not planning on this being, this is your backup. This is like a worst case scenario. So I take these hunting because this leaves me the opportunity that if an emergency arises, I don't have to have like a full roll of toilet paper with me. I can just carry around like a, you know, just like a little sandwich bag and throw a handful of these in and you're good. You have an emergency, you go, you know. You don't, it doesn't require a lot of liquid. And in a worst case scenario, we're talking really, really worst case scenario. If you, even if you didn't have water, most of the time you have pee reservoirs in your body and your pee is sterile, and it sounds gross, but essentially you could use pee to pull these apart and use these. Like I said, that is an absolute worst case scenario. That is, there's no water. You can't find any water, but you have to go. So stuff like that happens, you know. I was just telling everyone that in a worst case scenario, in a worst case scenario, you can use your own pee.
Yeah, pee sterile. I mean, I think it's sterile to you. I don't know how that works exactly. Like, I'm not looking for John to go pee on me or anything unless whatever. That's not a topic that we're having, but that would be a real emergency situation if John had to pee on me. But yeah, no, I know your pee is sterile to at least yourself. I know. It's probably not something most people want to think about or talk about, but yeah. So here's the one that I have. I didn't realize the bag that I have. Let's see, the bag I have. How many's in here? There's a lot in here.
Let me see that bag.
There's 500. It's kind of hard to read because I have it kind of dark.
Yeah, I got. Hey, I've got. I think 4 or 5 bags of those.
Yeah, and these ones are pretty nice. I didn't know this until I got way down into the bag, but they come with 4 tubes.
Yep.
And so these are like for your pocket, and you can refill them.
Yeah.
And like I said, I didn't even know that until I got way down into the bag. I was like, oh, sweet. So yeah, I have Rebecca carry one of these in her purse. Mm-hmm. I carry one in my pocket if I remember to grab it before I leave. That way we always have something just in case. And there's
usually, like on this one, they actually give like little tips for other things that you can use it for. You can use it for baby wipes. So say I've done it a couple times, as you know, 3 kids in, it's happened to me a couple times, not too often, to where you are, you know, you're constantly using the baby wipes in the baby bag and someone forgets that you don't realize that you're all the way down, and all of a sudden you're left in a circumstance where you have like 1 wipe. Now these are totally scent free, fragrance free, so there's no perfumes, no additives whatsoever. And so if you use this on a baby butt, it's not going to hurt the baby butt, you know. But like I said, I have had it happen where you just run out of the house, you know, check the the baby wipes, and you're down to like 1 baby wipe.
Yeah, we've had that happen before too. Not very
often.
And
then you have like an explosive, load, and you're like, what do I do? I only have 1 wipe. And then I remember going into a store and trying to find whatever kind of wipes I could find. And at that point, it's like you might be buying scented ones, or stuff that actually could give your baby a rash. Whereas if you just like had that little tube with some of these and a little bit of water, you're good. And on the back, it actually tells you like different things that you can put into them. You can add lemon to cut through grease, vinegar to kill germs, toner to freshen up. I don't know about that one. But you can add a cleanser for hygiene. So all kinds of different weird stuff that you can do.
Yeah, and then like I had said, you can use H2O2 in an emergency situation for like a minor cut. Like I said, I've tried alcohol too, like isopropyl alcohol.
Yeah. Just
to see, and it didn't soak in like almost at all. Like it almost ran off. Like it was like a little bit wet, but it wouldn't absorb for whatever reason. I mean, I can imagine why. It kind of makes sense, but like it was kind of weird at the same time that it didn't absorb. But yeah, so I think it's a good idea to always keep those around. And you can get them on Amazon. I think my pack was like 20, or no, it was like $30 for 500. They're a little pricey,
Okay.
but at the same time, it's not something that you use every day, but you might want to have them around every day just in case. So that brings me to kind of my next point, which I was going to talk about. And that's, okay, so what do you do when you don't have anything to kind of soak those in? And I know John had talked about you could use urine. That's a pretty extreme situation, I think, for most people. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it or anything, but that would be a pretty desperate situation. One thing that you can do is you can distill your own water. We have a water distiller just because me being the person that I am, I don't trust the city of Wausau or any other city that, for that matter, of what they're putting in the water or not putting in the water, or I don't know what they're doing with the water. All I know is when I turn the tap on, water comes out, and that's awesome. That's a huge plus. And you know, we live in a great time where that can happen, but I don't know what's in that water, fluoride or any chlorine. They put stuff in the water. And I don't know what's in there. So we distill our water. We take it, you know, we take the distiller. It's like a 1 gallon. We put it right under the tap, pour it up to the fill line, and then you put the top on, you plug it in. It takes about 5 hours to distill 1 gallon of water. Now that water, when we went camping, I brought 3 glass jars full of the distilled water. Remember? Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's great to have with you wherever you go. Just, you know, you can just have clean distilled water that you know is going to be sterile of any, well, probably mostly anything. Yeah. So even if you're in a situation where all you can do is collect maybe rainwater or something, you can distill that and then you have clean water. Those distillers are like, they're not too expensive. We bought ours years and years and years ago. I don't know what they run for right now. They might be like $150 ish. No, I don't know if you can hear, but I've got a dehumidifier going in the background. I like it really dry because I have a hard time breathing when there's any humidity at all. It has crossed my mind that, I mean, if the shit really hit the fan and, you know, we didn't have water, but I had electricity, I could distill water. I mean, I could use the dehumidifier to pull moisture out of the air and distill that water. Now, that'd be probably a really weird situation. Like if you still have power but not water, that would be really strange, I think. But who knows? You know, you never know. I'm just throwing out ideas. If you have a dehumidifier and maybe the water's, for whatever reason, Flint, John, you've lived near Flint for years. Everyone knows that Flint's had problems with the water. If you live in a place where there's bad water like Flint, you could do that. You could go, well, I mean, assuming you don't live in the desert and it's dry and there's no moisture in the air to collect. But I mean, if you live like in a Midwest state like we do, you could collect water from the air with a dehumidifier and then pour the water into a distiller and you might want to distill it twice. I think I probably would do that. But you could distill water from a dehumidifier in an emergency situation, I think.
Yeah. I don't see why you couldn't. The only thing that I would question is sometimes those dehumidifiers, you have to add certain additives to stop it from like algae growth.
Algae, yeah, I agree.
So
you would
now
probably want to make sure that the basin that it collects the water in is clean before you start collecting water. It would have to be something you'd almost have to kind of plan out.
Yeah, and do constantly.
Yep.
Because otherwise that algae is going to grow up, and now you're drinking again. You're trying to distill contaminated water, which actually I can't see even that being, because distilling, you're boiling, vaporizing.
Yep, and then it goes.
And then it goes in another tank. Yeah. So you could take the most filthy water in the entire world theoretically. Because once it turns to vapor, it's no longer contaminated.
No, I would recommend, we don't have the actual physical space to do this, but I would recommend that after it's distilled, you filter it just to be safe in an emergency situation. because a lot of distillers have like a little tiny carbon filter as it's dripping out. Ours does not.
Okay.
And I've tried buying them, but sometimes when I'm going to buy them, they've been out of stock, and I just haven't timed it right. So I would say if you do get a distiller and yours comes with a charcoal filter, make sure you stock up on those refills, because they're like almost like a tea bag in a way. They're like, you know, a little circle thing of charcoal that as it's being distilled and coming out into the basin that catches the distilled water, it's going through a charcoal filter. I mean, worst case scenario, you could always make your own. There's plenty of tutorials on how to make your own earth filter. It's basically dirt and charcoal, rocks, dirt and charcoal. They're really simple. I've never made one, but that's another handy thing to be able to do.
Well, and remember the principle we're talking about is survival. Okay.
Right.
So in survival, you can go, how long can you go on without water?
3 days, roughly.
3 days, roughly. Depending on temperature, depending on how dehydrated you are when you start. There's a whole lot of factors. Heat. If you're in a really hot, humid place, you can cut that in half. It's a day and a half. Okay. After that,
you're going to be losing water because you're sweating so bad.
Yeah.
So if anybody who's never been to
you're going to lose your electrolytes. Once
right.
you start losing your electrolytes, then your cognitive thought's going to go with it. Once that happens, then you're going to be entering into.
Is that why I'm not cognitive? Because it's always humid here.
Maybe,
dude. I knew I needed to be in the desert, man.
Once that sets in, okay. Once you lose your electrolytes, once that starts happening, number one, you're gonna get there's the possibility of diarrhea because you're so dehydrated and your body is just trying to like basically survive. Okay. And once all of that begins to shut down, you're going to enter into hyperthermia, and then you're basically out. You know, your body's going to overheat, and then you basically just you pass. There's not a lot, you know. So, and we're talking in the heat, okay? Without the heat, you're basically just going to get really sick. You're going to feel lethargic. And what are the symptoms after that in non-heat induced dehydration?
I don't remember them all.
I think you're going to suffer a massive headache.
Yeah, you'll probably get a headache. Yep.
You're going to get massive headaches. You're going to sleep a lot. Your body. I'm convinced though that 3 days without drinking anything. That's going to be you're going to be.
You can
horrible.
drink your own pee. Just so you know, if it comes out of that, you can drink your own pee. I wouldn't want to do it. But
well, wait. You can drink your own pee at first. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
You need to speculate or like really state this clearly, because you can drink your pee when it's clear, but once it starts turning yellow, now all of a sudden your body's building up a waste factor.
Right.
Okay, it's not just going in one end, being filtered and going out the other. Now all of a sudden there's a chemical breakdown where your body's building up these like toxins, and it's trying to push out the toxins, but it doesn't have the fluid to push them out. Okay, so all of a sudden you're pushing out like ammonia, and that's where your pee is really stinking. Once that happens, if you drink that yellow pee, now all of a sudden you're going to be more thirsty and more dehydrated, and that's when you might actually you're probably going to get diarrhea from
I might start hallucinating and stuff too, possibly.
Yeah, so let's make that clear. Like, drink your pee when it's clear, not when it's not when it's colored,
not when it looks like. Drink it when it's clear, not when it looks like beer.
Exactly.
If it looks like beer, you're not in the clear, right? I just made that up. I don't know. Okay, so I think this I think this is a good spot to kind of go over like the basic things that like everybody needs to survive. So like, you know, just on a basic level, you're gonna need food, water, shelter. And I was like one more.
Well,
What's
put them in
one?
order though. Water,
Yeah, water, food,
and then shelter,
and then clothing to keep warm. Those are like the four basic things like everybody really should have. Mm-hmm. So we've gone over water, food. Food is something that you can kind of, it's almost something you have to plan out. So like, I mean, obviously I don't think that canned food's always the best thing to have. But you can always, like, when you go to the grocery store, let's say you normally buy,
honestly,
right. Well, you can plan it out to where like you always have extra food and you're rotating your can stock. Yeah. So like, let's say you normally buy like 2 cans of beans, baked beans or whatever, because you know, maybe that's only you might only eat baked beans once a week and you buy food once every 2 weeks, whatever. So start buying 4 and then start rotate the stock. Don't just leave one in the bag. Rotate your stock in your pantry or your cupboards. But just continually buy just a little bit extra every time. That way you're starting to build up your pantry. And then you're always rotating it, get in the habit of that. And if you don't know what I mean, basically you take the new stuff, you put it in the back of, like, let's say you have 10 cans of beans now, you've saved up. You take the 11th and 12th, 13th and 14th cans of beans, you put those in the back behind all the other ones, you pull the other ones forward, and then you go to the store, you use 2 or 3 in that week. So now you're down from 14, from 10, you went up to 14, now you're down to 12. You go to the store, you buy another 4, that would make 16. You take the new 4 you just bought and you put those in the back, just like a grocery store does. You're rotating your stock. You're always going to put the new stuff in the back and pull the older stuff forward. So you're constantly getting, everything's getting used and it's not sitting there too long. Not that it matters a whole lot when it comes to canned food, because I think canned food can sit for years before it's really not any good. But just so, maybe you're comfortable with eating, fresh baked canned beans or whatever, you're rotating your stock. Just get in the habit of buying an extra can or 2 every time of whatever you normally might buy. Just so you have extra food in your pantry. And then when your pantry gets too full, maybe start having like a bucket or not a bucket, a storage container or whatever that you're starting to put stuff in when your pantry's starting to get too full. You can, just start kind of building up your canned food stock and make sure you're getting stuff like tuna or salmon and sardines. Sardines are supposed to be super, super good because they're really sustainable. They have a lot of the things that you need for meat, and they're fish. So if you're vegan, not vegetarian, but if you're vegan, a lot of vegans will still eat fish sometimes. That's something that you could be like, I guess if you have some kind of guilt thing about meat or fish, whatever, I don't know, you could probably still eat that and be okay because sardines are really sustainable. They're like, I don't know, the rabbits of the sea, I guess. I don't know. That's what, that's what I've heard. I don't know. They're super sustainable.
I do want to point out that we keep a lot of beans and rice because those two things, all dry. I've got them in different containers and like
a whole lot, but
not like a lot, but I've got enough that if I had to make it like a month without buying anything, beans and rice together form like a complete full protein, a complete protein. So those two things together in like a soup with just a little bit of water will sustain you. Yeah, it'll sustain you for quite a long time. It'll suck. I'm not saying this is going to be like, like dinner in Vegas eating gigantic T-bone steaks. It's really going to suck, but it will sustain you and potentially, like, I have enough to sustain my whole family for at least a month, maybe 2 months.
Yeah, and rice, that's the other thing I was going to get to. Rice is, I mean, it's cheap. Like, in the more in bulk you buy it, the cheaper it gets. Like, you can buy a pound for a couple bucks, but you buy 20 or 50 pounds of rice, that is cheap. Yeah, it gets real cheap real quick. Yeah, and it's not going to go bad, I don't think. I mean, I've never bought I might have bought 20 pounds. I've never bought a 50-pound bag of rice. I think I bought 20 pounds a few times. And that'll last us a few months. And we eat rice a lot. Not like every night, but I mean, lately it hasn't been as much. But there's been weeks where we've had rice maybe 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
And we make a lot of rice too. Like I make extra because what we don't eat will go into the refrigerator. We can make, fried rice the next day, or I can give it to the dogs because I don't know if you know this, John. You might know this, but we feed our dogs raw meat, raw food, and sometimes at times get tough. We give them a little bit of rice to kind of fill in maybe what they're not getting with their full raw diet, just so they're feeling a little more full, and they're not like
scarfing down more. Yeah.
Give me more food. They're whining. And usually I prefer to give them wild rice. I think that's a little better for canines. But I mean, we give them regular white rice too when it's like leftover and we don't want to eat it anymore. But yeah, beans, rice, you can live off of for a long time. Yeah, and then I mean, Spam is not my favorite thing, but it's not the worst thing in the world.
And it'll last
it'll last a long time.
Yeah.
So
I do want to point out another thing I just recently learned is that for anyone that has like a little toddler like I do, like ages 1 and 2, probably all the way up to 3 and 4, you can actually put out a bowl full of rice, and like a big bowl. And the tactile functionality of it is they'll place their hands in, and something about moving their hands through the grains of rice is like sand.
You're saying not cooked?
Yeah, not cooked.
Okay.
Just dry. And it's reusable. I mean, it's just your kid's hands, so it's not like you can't cook it. Yeah. Right.
You can always wash the rice off. In fact, a lot of people like to wash off the starch that's on the rice anyways before they cook it, so it's less starchy. So yeah, you can let them play with it and then rinse it off before they cook it.
And it's something about the way they put their hands through it is like, I don't know, you can see it in their eyes that they're just like in awe. Yeah, they're in seventh heaven. And then I was
just playing with the rice in the room a minute ago. I didn't go to get the wipes for real. They were sitting here the whole time I was playing with rice. I wasn't getting the wipes. I was playing with rice.
Oh, okay. Well, then if you put like other bowls and put a spoon out, they'll actually sit there and it's gonna make a mess, but they'll play like it's sand. And you can do this inside your house, especially now with like, like Michigan is still kind of on lockdown. There's not a lot of places you can go, or not a lot of places you can take your kids. It's winter time, number one, so everyone's inside anyways. But this is like something you can do with your toddler inside your house. You don't have to leave, and you will see their faces light up like they're at the beach playing in sand. So anyways, Spam is a great one. Soup, I carry tons of soup.
The only thing I would say about Spam is it is really salty. So that's gonna sort of dehydrate you. So keep that in mind. Make sure if you're gonna eat a lot of Spam, not a lot, but
it's also gonna replace those electrolytes you're gonna lose.
Yeah. Okay.
So you actually kind of need that
water to go with it, though.
Yeah.
You're not just dry eating Spam because you're starving.
Yeah. Well, the number one thing about survival is that you are not going to take in enough liquid from meat protein that is going to sustain. So if you're looking to eat something and get like juices from it, and I don't have any water, but I have meat, don't eat the meat. You need the water before you need the meat, because your body actually is going to start to burn calories and burn off fluid while you're eating that meat. And if you don't have the fluids to replace that, then you're actually making yourself sicker. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you need fluids to eat. It goes in order: liquid, food, that's, and then obviously shelter, but we're just talking about eating and drinking. So you have to have water to keep yourself sustained to be able to eat. If you can't have water, then don't eat, because it'd be better off to just hold out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. And I was gonna highlight something too. So okay, so we've kind of covered food and water.
I think another principal point is just nobody can ever plan for every little thing. As long as you keep that in mind. I cannot plan for every little thing, but what I can do is I can adapt. So thinking outside of the box, how can I adapt to a really bad situation? You know, what can I MacGyver together? What pantyhose and a condom and a ballpoint pen what can I do with that to save myself and my family? You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's just learning to adapt, you're given a hard circumstance possibly in the future. Like you always hear of people stranded in their car in the middle of a blizzard, but somehow they survive because they adapt to it. You know?
Yeah, and that's something I kind of wanted to point it out. Like, we're calling this episode "I Will Survive" because I will survive. Because I think a lot of people like to wet dream about like the zombie apocalypse, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, I can't wait till everyone's effing dead," and there's a bunker under my house. Oh, it's amazing. That's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about there's a storm that hits, and the power goes out, and you just have to get through the next couple weeks. I mean, if your power goes out, your fridge is good. Your fridge and freezer are good for maybe 3 days, maybe.
Is it?
I'm
if
saying,
you don't open it.
Yeah, if you don't open it. I mean, if you don't open it. The longer you leave it open, the quicker it's not gonna hold up the cold.
Right.
Well, we live in Wisconsin, so if
you just take it outside.
No, yeah, literally. Okay, so check this out. The house we live in, this is a rental. I don't own it. But there's a food pantry. It's a walk-in. It's kind of designed weird, but it's awesome because it's got a window in there. And in the winter, we keep it cracked, even on the coldest freaking days, because whatever we can't fit in our fridge or freezer, we put in the pantry, like meat. We have meat sitting on the floor in a bucket, not not on the floor, but we have a bucket that we keep like meat and stuff in, because it'll stay cold in there, just like it's a refrigerator. It's actually colder than the refrigerator, but hang on one second. I just got a message from Rebecca. She's like, "There's no sound. Unmute your StreamYard so Rebecca can hear it."
That was my fault. We're muting the StreamYard because there's a slight delay. Yeah, I know. Sorry.
We're muting the StreamYard.
Hold on, now I got.
Dude, I can't deal with
it. Yeah, I can't do it either. All right, sorry, Rebecca. We're gonna mute it. It's too much. We got several things recording, and there's a delay between all the different ones. I'll add the audio later.
Okay, I'll mute it. There we go. Sorry. You can hear the delay coming through. I had the YouTube stream up to watch it. Anyways, so we've got this pantry that has a window in it, and it's cool because we keep our canned foods in there, we keep our fruits and vegetables in there, and any kind of meat that we can't fit in the fridge or freezer, we put in there in the winter. And what's really nice is in the summer we close the window, and I mean it's not cold in there, but it can stay cool in there if we keep the window closed and we put a curtain over it. I mean, the sun never comes in that window anyway. It's a really small window. But it'll stay cool-ish in the summer. So yeah, I mean, obviously most people aren't going to have that kind of a situation that we kind of looked out on that.
Matt, I just thought of something, okay? Something that goes in between water, food, and then shelter. Okay, I think those are all three in place, how they should be. But before clothing, you should have clothing. If you don't have clothing, you got, I don't know, you got held up and gang rape behind some store or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I don't know why you wouldn't have clothing. But at this point, I'm gonna interject that fire. Fire is the quintessential element that you absolutely have to have. So in my order, I would put water, food, shelter, and then fire. Some people would put fire higher on their list, because in order to sometimes sterilize the water, you have to have fire, and I get that. I totally get that. But without water, you just have a fire, you know.
So
I think they kind of go hand in hand. I think fire kind of goes hand in hand with like finding water. You know, if you're out, like say when I go hunting, if I were to get lost in the woods, which I can't say it would never happen, but I have like a built-in like directional compass in my head.
I kind of do too.
I have never gotten lost yet. I'm not saying it can't happen. I mean, that's ridiculous. And the moment you say that,
in the woods, I probably could.
Yeah.
On a long journey, I could get lost in the woods. But in a normal,
I know too much for that to probably happen. If I felt like I was starting to get lost, there are things that you can do along the way to help guide your way back. Number one, walk in a straight line. Okay. Number two, you should have a knife on you. I would make little etchings in the trees if I had to. Little indicators, little markers along the way. Compass. These are
this is
everything
regular.
Yeah.
I don't think everyday carry because I don't really leave the house that often. But this is like my backpack that I keep my camera in here.
Yeah.
Because they keep the camera safe, and I have kind of an expensive camera. But that's not only what it's for. That's just the biggest object I keep in my bag.
Do you have a fire starter?
I'll show you everything I have in my bag right now. Okay. So here's a rape whistle in case I'm getting raped. No,
so honestly, you can keep your clothes.
Yeah. So in case I run out of clothes, I still got my rape whistle, and if I get raped, bitch, you dead. Anyways, no, I think I bought this. It's actually got a casing. I didn't buy it for the whistle. It's got a casing to keep matches in. Okay. I got there's no matches in here at the moment, but
it looks like
I have
a rubber-proof seal on it.
Yep, right there. And then you can wear it around your neck with this really crappy little cord. It's got the compass on it, which that's important to have. Okay. It's got the rape whistle in case you're getting raped. I think this is like $2 at Walmart. I don't remember what I paid, but it was affordable. In the camping section. I got this knife when I was in Massachusetts, when I worked in Massachusetts for a couple months. Mm-hmm. It was like $15. I got this at Walmart. It's not a great knife, but it's got one of those seatbelt cutters. If you're in a car accident and you go in the water and you need to get out of your vehicle, you can cut your seatbelt, and then the tip right there to break the window so you can get out of your vehicle. And the knife is It has a flashlight.
I'm going to tell you right now, those are really good to have. But those the window breakers, it's harder than you think. So I'm gonna tell you a little tip that will really help that. Okay, the tip is to go into the corner of the window.
Corner? Yep.
Do not go where it's completely convex in the middle. That's your innate thought, is to just hit it in the middle, but it's at its weakest in the far corners. So
that makes sense.
Pick a corner, like where it's actually cornered out at a 90-degree angle, and hit it in that corner. That's its weakest point. I have tried many of those. We tried a bunch of those. Okay. What actually works the best, even though it's illegal to carry around with you, but in a post-apocalyptic zombie overtaking, if you needed to bust out a window, a spark plug, a crushed up spark plug. The porcelain on a spark plug. Yeah,
plug with you?
Yeah, it is here.
Why?
Well,
I'm telling you. Never mind. I'll take your word for it, John.
I'm telling you, a little piece this big of that porcelain from the spark plug. All you have to do is throw it like that, and it will literally shatter a window.
Really?
Completely out. I have video on it. I've done it.
No,
I haven't released the video.
I just didn't know that. Okay, so Here's the fire starter I have. It's actually attached to my bag. There's a little hook right here. I'll try to balance the bag on my knee.
I got that same one. I have the exact same one. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So check this out. This is so cool. As a test, I don't remember how many years ago, I was like, you know what? I'll bet these stupid TSA people don't even know what the frick one of these are. I've taken these on planes every time. I take my bag on. I always have one of these. Not that I want to start a fire in a plane or anything. I just want to see, because these are not that expensive to replace if they get taken away.
Right.
But I just want to see if I can get it on the plane with me, because I keep it in my bag anyway. I'm not going to
lighter though. I mean, to be fair,
I have a lighter. I have a lighter right here.
Yeah.
I have a Zippo lighter and a regular lighter.
Yeah.
I think I have my Zippo lighter in here at the moment. There's my regular Bic lighter. I don't smoke anymore. I don't need it, but I keep a regular Bic lighter in there. I used to have a Zippo lighter in there. I keep Zippo lighter fluid. I've taken this on planes. You'd be surprised what you can get away with. It's kind of funny. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you can see it spark a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I've taken these on planes. I don't say anything. It's just like, as long as you're not trying to blow the plane up or whatever. I take this everywhere I go in my bag. So you can start a fire no matter what if you're trying to survive.
They also make the magnesium ones where you actually cut away a piece of the magnesium, and you can cut away as much as you want. And then on the other one, there's a striker to it. So then you strike it, and the moment one of those sparks hits the magnesium, you have like a serious ball of flame, like a pretty significant flame, like instantly. So because you're igniting the magnesium,
like
which
$2 or $3.
Yeah, they're like $3.
Yeah, I've had those. I've gotten those before too, and taken those on planes with me as well, because for the most part, most people don't use those or carry those with them with you, and the TSA just doesn't even know what that is, as far as I know. Like I said, I don't know how many flights I've taken, and I've always carried one of those on the plane with me in my bag. They've never taken it away from me, ever.
Well, I've carried lighters, though. I mean, they've never stopped me or held me up about a lighter.
Yeah. Maybe like 15 years ago they probably would have, but not. I don't think it's as big of a deal now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've got a cheap this light too. It has a light on it. It doesn't work. I don't know why, but I don't know if the batteries just never worked. But it's got a tiny little light on it. It's for $15.
Signaling.
I guess, but it's just never worked. And I bought the knife brand new, but yeah, just to keep a knife on you just in case you need to cut something.
Yeah.
In your bag. And I think, again, I bought this in Massachusetts, and we flew from Massachusetts back to Wisconsin, and it didn't get taken out of I don't remember if I put it in my bag or my suitcase, but I mean, I've got it here, so I got it here somehow.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly. That was a couple years ago, but yeah. So just I don't have the matches on me, but at Walmart there's like windproof matches, and the tip that you strike and it lights. I don't know what that's called. Is that magnesium? Whatever the tip is, you're striking on a match that lights.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have like these windproof ones, and there's like that much of that stuff on the match. So even if it's like really windy, they won't blow out. I had some of those in my little rape whistle here, and I don't know if I used them or I don't know, for whatever, starting the grill outside, I don't know, but I've got more of them. Those you can get at Walmart for maybe $2 or $3 for a pack of 15 or 20 of those weatherproof, windproof matches, and I've tested them outside. Like I was like, it's kind of windy out. I struck it and lit it, and it's like, they lit, dude. So for a couple bucks, it's worth having on you some matches that you keep inside of a rape whistle with a compass, just in case you need them. This stuff you can throw in your purse or your bag, and it's not going to take up a ton of space. Like I said, this is like my camera bag. I take my camera with me, and I also have a knife, a whistle, a compass, lighter fluid, all that stuff, just in case. And that stuff's never happened to me. I've never gotten trapped in the woods where I've needed this stuff, but if it happens, I've got it.
Right. Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yep.
That's kind of I kind of live by that philosophy. I do want to point out, you can actually cut those matches. You can cut them smaller than halves, but let's say that you wanted to, that was all you were going to get. And you don't know the next time you're going to be able to find matches. Okay. Or a fire starter for that matter. You can actually cut those matches safely in half with a sharp knife.
Like down, long ways down?
Yep. Long ways down the middle. And use each half. So now you've doubled up all your matches. Assuming you have a good striker to strike it on.
Now, keep in mind, if you're in a situation where you have to have a fire to survive, my advice would be to make sure that fire never goes out. Keep it lit all the time, so you only have to start the fire the one time.
That also requires fuel for it, though.
Yeah, a lot of work. But that would be the ideal situation.
But that work also comes at a price of calories and water. So
true.
Just to keep a fire going is going to require fuel for your body and fuel for the fire. So you're going to have to constantly be going, you know. Hopefully it never gets that bad. You never have to, but that's where it comes back to. Can you adapt?
Right.
Can you adapt to a really nasty situation? It might cost you something. It might cost you a lot of something. Something that most people would not. You know, I always think about that one guy that got trapped in the canyon. And his arm was pinned in the boulder.
Yep.
He took a pocket knife and cut off his arm.
Allegedly.
And then tourniqueted it up. You know, that kind of thing is adapting to a really bad situation. But without that willingness to adapt, he would not have survived. So sometimes the cost is significant. Sometimes the cost is not as significant, but there's still a cost. So just keep that in mind. Adaptation comes with the cost. Are you there, Matt?
I'm here. I'm just typing to the chat.
Let me hear your sexy voice.
Hey,
guys. Hey, you guys.
Okay, so there's a couple of there's a couple things I want to go over quickly before I forget. So there's a website I'm going to throw out there and a podcast. Now I haven't listened to this podcast in quite a few years. No particular reason other than I just don't. That's it. There's no like reason other than that. But I used to listen to it all the time, especially when I was a truck driver and I had hours a day to listen to whatever I wanted. And that's the Survival Podcast. So you can Google it and find it. A lot of stuff, a lot of these tips that I kind of came across, I've heard there. They also talk about like kind of like homesteading and gardening, a lot of stuff. It's not just survival stuff, but it's like a lot of like getting your life with skill set, I would say. You know, developing your life to have a skill set to live and survive no matter what. That's kind of the idea of the podcast, of the Survival Podcast. Again, I haven't listened to it in years, so I don't know what it's like now, but back in the day, you know, that was kind of like what the episodes were about. And one of the guests they had on there, his name was Steve Harris. And actually, at one point, he lived in Warren, Michigan, where, you know where Warren's at, you know, right next to Detroit. I don't think he lives there now, but he actually has a couple of books out. I have a couple of them. One of them. This, you might not be able to read it because it might be reversed. Oh, no, it's not. Sunshine to Dollars. In this book, he kind of goes over, like, the most efficient way to create solar power for almost no money at all. And I'm not going to go over it in there, but it is possible to find ways to get used, slightly damaged, but still working solar panels for little or no money at all and build up solar power in your backyard or whatever, so that you can create in an emergency situation enough power to just have the basic things on, like your refrigerator or whatever. And in this book he kind of talks all about that. He also talks
oh no, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say he talks about a lot of stuff that's really cool. His name is Steve Harris, steveharris.net, and all of the different websites he has are linked in steveharris.net. He also teaches you how to build a, oh God, what is it called? A sun oven, I think it's called. Do you know what a sun oven is? It's basically like a box. You can make it in a small box, and he actually shows you how you can take a used bathtub and make one. So you can make it small, or you can make it as big as a bathtub, and you can use the sun to basically cook a loaf of bread for free. I mean, these are all things you could find that are, you know, you're not going to buy a brand new tub to do this. You could find a scrapped tub that someone's throwing out, clean it out, and then he teaches you like how to make this oven that you would put in the sun, and you could bake bread in it. And he also has this class that's and it's from, I forgot when, it's from the early 2000s, but this is when he lived in Warren. He actually did this class in Warren because of the 2003 blackout. What was that? 2003, the blackout, you remember, that hit like the East Coast of America? We talked about it before. Whatever year that was, I can't remember right now, but he did a class based on that event afterwards to teach people like basic skills like we're talking about, so that if the shit hits a fan, you can have something to eat. One of the things he talks about is how to make a bread. It's kind of like a pita more, but look, I had Rebecca send me the recipe. I'm pulling it up right now. Give me a moment.
Well, let me add in.
Sure, go ahead.
You know, that's a really significant point. The brownout, blackout, okay, is because earlier you brought up that people like to glorify like a zombie apocalypse. Hollywood's made what, 1 million movies on zombies. I mean, dating
17 seasons now.
Yeah, entertainment on zombies has gone back all the way to you know, all the way to Frankenstein. Okay, so dating back to the 1800s, where it was first conceived. But in real life, when, you know, crap hits the fan, shit hits the fan, it's like that brownout or blackout, where, you know, if anyone was around during that period and you were out and about at stores, you've seen, you know, people rioting, and we're seeing people rioting now, like, you know, recently. So these kinds of situations, it's not really that glorified. It shouldn't be that glorified. You should just know how to survive through it, because in the brownout, blackout, there was no electricity. Some people didn't have water because their water was connected to electricity,
like a well or whatever.
Yeah,
it's an electric pump. Yeah.
So
for anybody who has an electric pump, I would say figure out a way to get a manual pump installed as a backup, because that you have to have water.
And you can't depend on generators because the gas pumps are supplied by electricity. Yeah, so when electricity goes out, so does the gasoline.
Yeah, and in that particular brownout, it was hard to find gas. I remember.
Yeah, remember I drove out to what was it? It was out by your parents.
Yeah, we talked about this before. I don't remember if it was on the podcast, but during that blackout, there was there's a store chain in Michigan, from Michigan, but it's in another state. It's called Meijer, Meijer, and at this time, John and I did know each other, but we didn't know that we were in the same place at the same time that day. Kevin and Eric, my buddies, during this blackout, we had gone to Meijer to grab whatever. I don't even remember. A flashlight, I think, is what we needed.
And I lived, what, an hour away?
At least. It outlines at least an hour from where, I forget what city that's in.
But when I was at work, the power went out, I think, mid-afternoon. And I was released from work. I had just got paid. I went to the bank. I cashed my check. I had I made a lot of money back then, but I think for 2 weeks work, I had like $1,600, something like that. Maybe a little more.
In 3 or 4 or whatever.
Was that?
So I'm saying the year. So to put in perspective the amount of money during the, almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, I had a good amount of money from like 2 weeks worth of paycheck, and I just had cash on me at that point. I was a young kid, had a bunch of cash. So here I am with like $1,600, and someone tells me there's no gas, there's no power. Somebody at work, and they were like, all right, we're going to release you. I knew I was empty on gas. Absolutely knew it. And I was like, well, crap, man, where am I going to get gas? Someone tells me at my work that he heard on the news that there was still power out at that Meyer. Where was that at? Was that in Mount Clemens or?
I think so. I can't remember the exact city, but I mean, it's off of I-94 in 12 mile, 11 miles, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know what city it was, but
7 years. So
yeah, I knew I wasn't completely on E. I had like a quarter of a tank left, and I thought I could at least get there and then get some gas when I got there.
And I don't remember if we had heard that Meyer still had power. I don't know. I don't remember the situation, but for whatever reason, Eric and Kevin and I ended up at the same Meyer at the same time John is. We never ran into John, but I remember when we were there, we went to go grab a flashlight. There was like one left, and then the power goes out. And you were there when the power went out too.
Yeah, I was.
We just didn't know it till years later.
I went in to get water.
Lost it, and it turned into a shit show real quick.
Yeah, like in the blink of an eye, when the power went out, they were running on
generators. Ran out is what happened.
They were running on generators, and the moment those generators, I was grabbing water down the aisle with the water, which just happens to be where the alcohol and everything like that is. There's chips, there's water, there's alcohol, there's everything kind of around that area. The moment the power went out, I had like a case of water and I just dropped it like right away. I was like, okay, something I need to really pay attention. What's going on? I seen people just grabbing bottles of booze and throwing them in a cart. And there was screaming, mass pandemonium. I mean, just people. I seen an old lady, an elderly lady, probably 80 years old, just get trampled by a bunch of people. They just she fell over and they were just walking over her like she wasn't even there. Everyone's screaming, pushing carts, literally shopping carts of alcohol out the front door. Just pushing them out. They're not even buying. They're just
yeah.
We need the alcohol.
What happened? But in my mind, I just remember the power going out and everyone going, "Ah!" Someone was like, "Oh, come on." I don't know if that actually happened or if I made that up in my mind, but that's just kind of how I'm remembering it. It's just everyone was like, "Oh, yeah." But I remember we were like, "Yeah, we need to get out of here quick." At that point, I don't remember if we got our flashlight or not. But
do you remember people screaming and all of that?
I remember hysteria. Eric and Kevin knocked over a display for fun.
Yeah, and we're talking before cell phones, really. I mean, cell phones were around, but they weren't
smartphones. They were cell phones.
They were cell phones. They were green screen.
Pre-smartphone.
Yeah, pre-smartphone. No flashlights. I don't think the ones even had cameras on them at that point yet, right?
Yeah, they were probably a 2 megapixel camera that took really grainy pictures.
Were they?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I mean,
they were pretty bad.
They're really, really bad. I'm not sure they had flashlights either, and people that had them have a lot of them.
No, I'm pretty sure that's like a smartphone thing, is a flashlight or smartphone and beyond.
Yeah,
I don't think phones had flashlights on them at that point.
Yeah, so when the power went out at that time, the power really went out. It was like, I remember, I don't even remember the security lights coming on at all, because they had completely tapped their generators.
I remember,
was like no power.
I don't remember if there was any either. I just remember it got kind of dark in there. I mean, it wasn't nighttime yet.
Yeah.
It was in the evening, and I remember it got dark in there. Not like you couldn't see, but dark.
Yeah, in a store with a whole lot of people.
And I'm sure we've talked about this before, because I know we went over this blackout situation on one of our first podcasts, I think. But that's kind of my point of this whole conversation, is to have some things that you need just in case. And I'm going to bring up that recipe my wife has. So in one of the Steve Harris presentations that he did, not on the Survival podcast, but it's something that he has linked on one of his websites. He has a recipe for like emergency bread or emergency tortillas. It's flour, oil, salt. You mix it into a dough. I don't have the exact measurements, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But just so you got an idea of what you need on hand, you can play with it beforehand and kind of figure it out. And I'm sure there's tutorials on YouTube. But flour, oil, salt. You mix into a dough, make it into golf ball sized rolls, and then flatten it with a rolling pin. You can cook on a pan, so like a frying pan or whatever, on both sides in less than a minute on each side. And then you essentially have like an emergency bread or tortilla. So this flour, you're just gonna get like a regular flour. Nothing special, nothing fancy, unless you have an allergy or something. Like a regular flour you can get in the store. Steve Harris talks about this in his presentation. Why he recommends getting this is because there's something about the way it's bleached and processed. I know for like a lot of people who are into like, being healthy, that's not ideal, but in a survival situation, that's going to change.
Mm-hmm.
Just a regular flour, you can leave in your pantry. It's not going to go bad. Bugs aren't going to infest it. And you can use it to eat in a survival situation. So if you don't normally use regular flour, and I don't know if you use like some kind of non-gluten stuff, you might want to try and fool around with the recipe and see what you can get, and then make sure you're rotating your stock so you always have something on hand. But for people who can eat like a regular flour, I would suggest always having a 5-pound bag of flour or whatever in your pantry, along with oil and salt. Play with the recipe. Again, I don't know it off the top of my head. You can go to steveharris.net, and his presentation, he gives the exact measurements. And at the very least, if you've got fire, if you've got all those basic things, you can have something to eat. And if you've collected canned food like we have suggested, you're not going to go hungry. You're going to have something. And and for this blackout situation that happened, I think the power was out for a while. I don't remember how long it was.
It was like a week.
Yeah, it was like at least a week. So your refrigerator isn't going to keep food at an ambient temperature that's good, that you need it to be at for that long. So that's another thing he kind of talks about, Steve Harris, in one of his presentations, is when the power goes out, he kind of gives an idea of what you need to eat first, because you're not going to be able to keep your fridge long and you don't know when the power's coming back. So he's like, eat your ice cream first, because that's going to melt, and you can eat it and have it, or you can just let it melt and throw it out. What would you rather do if you're trying to you don't know when the power's going to come back on? Eat it. So eat the ice cream first. Go through the things in the freezer and eat like the ice cream and stuff that you can't keep like at all. Like if you were to take it out of the freezer and leave it on the counter and 5 hours later it's no good, eat that stuff first. You know, kind of prioritize what you can and can't. Like, there's certain things you can probably sit out at a more room temperature and they'll be okay for a while. Those things you're going to eat last. Things that, like ice cream, eat that first because that's going to melt. You might as well eat it, you know? So he kind of gives an idea of what order to eat what you have in your freezer and refrigerator if the power goes out and you don't know when it's coming back on. And I think it's a good presentation to listen to. What's something else I was going to kind of go over? I think that's I kind of covered. I went over the water thing. The water distiller, I think, is really important. You can, if you don't have the money for it, just kind of try and save up for it. I think having access to clean water is super important. Again, you're going to need power for that.
Well, and also there's a million survival shows out there, not just podcasts, but actual video shows that you can YouTube and watch. And if you need to make like a, on the fly lean-to, or, any kind of like outside kind of survival shelter, just go on YouTube, Google it. You will pull up millions. Yeah. You'll have like a video overload.
Yeah. And like I said, make sure you know how to, in case you have to, make an earth filter for water. Mm-hmm. So if all you have is pond water, you can make an earth filter and you can drink something. If there's no power to distill water or whatever, it's not super hard. You just have to know how to do it.
Yeah. So that's all I got for survival, man. I mean, you can go into more detail, but the rest, I think they can just look up online, especially like building shelters, building snares.
A lot of the stuff is going to be dependent on where you live. Like John and I live in the Midwest. Mm-hmm. It's humid here. If you live in the desert and you live like in, I don't know, Arizona or Nevada, some of the stuff isn't going to matter to you. It's not going to pertain because the climate is completely different. Yeah. So a lot of this information is going to be dependent on where you live.
And not only that, but I see it like all arrows point back to just being able to be flexible with the situation that you're in and being able to adapt to it. As long as you're flexible and can adapt to whatever situation you are in, you can maintain positivity. No matter what, you'll survive. That even if you've never seen a tutorial on how to build a shelter, even if you've never watched a tutorial on or listened to anything else, as long as you can be, positive and try to be, adaptive to the situation that you're in and try to think outside of the box, how can I survive? You can pretty much put your mind in a place to where you will survive no matter what.
Right.
And I think that's your greatest tool. What were you going to say, Matt?
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, it's winter now. This is January. Mm-hmm. And this is actually a warmer January for us. But typically in January, it gets extremely cold in Wisconsin. I'm talking 20 below zero actual temperature, not wind chill. Wind chill is like 30, 40 below zero. One thing that I try to always do, we have a blanket in the car. Yep. I have several jackets. I know it's kind of cluttery. It looks kind of trashy, but I'd rather have the extra jackets for my family to keep warm in if the car breaks down. Yeah. And we're waiting for a tow or whatever.
Like 3 hours.
Right. You don't know. I mean, I live in central Wisconsin. If I went on an hour trip somewhere and broke down, I could be screwed. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? For a lot of people, that may not be a big deal. They may live, an hour's nothing. In Detroit, an hour, you're still in the city. Yeah. But out here, you go an hour, or southeast west, you go 10 minutes in any direction, you're in the woods.
Well, even here, where you go an hour in any direction, you're gonna be in some kind of town or city. You know what I mean? But even here, I've been on accident scenes where someone was rear-ended, and we actually waited, 3.5 hours for the police to get there. There was no police, and had we not showed up, the person that got rear-ended, their car wasn't, the one that actually do the rear-ending, the one that hit them, their car wasn't running. There was antifreeze all over the ground. Their car's all busted up. It's not starting, and it's cold out. So what are you going to do for 3 hours waiting for the police to show up?
Yeah, I mean, if it's 0 degrees out, which isn't super cold really, but it is if you're got no shelter.
Yeah.
I mean, having a blanket and a coat and a way to make fire if you have to could be the difference between dying in the woods in Wisconsin in the middle of winter at night or living.
Yeah. I would argue that anywhere where you're going to get bad weather, rain, snow, doesn't matter.
Yeah, and if you live south of us, like Arkansas or whatever, tornadoes.
Yeah.
I mean, we have tornadoes here, but not as often. I mean, there's natural disasters all over the place. Any given moment, anything can happen. You live out west, earthquakes. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're not safe for you live on the coast anywhere in the east or the south, hurricanes. Mm-hmm. You're not safe anywhere, really. So, this stuff is supposed to be like just in case anything happens. It's not like build a bunker under your house and you're hiding from the government because you're paranoid. And I've been there before, believe me. Yeah. Not anymore. I mean,
I know what you mean.
Yeah. But, and I want to try to help people in any way that I can, if I can. This knowledge, if you want to call it that.
Knowledge.
Can help people, then so be it. And then I think, and now that, is there any, okay, so let's see. We've talked about water, we've talked about food, we've kind of talked about fire and shelter, clothing. Mm-hmm. I've talked about, I've got several, like 3 or 4 jackets in the car. Anything else as far as those kind of things you want to kind of talk about?
Not that I can think of. I mean, I was just telling you when I stepped outside that I have a heated jacket. That's kind of pricey. I don't recommend everyone just buy a heated jacket. I just bought it because I go outside a lot. So mine has like a battery pack on it, so it lasts I think 5 hours. I can pick 3 different temperatures. And if I want to recharge it, I have one of the little portable chargers about this big, and it uses the same cord to charge my phone that it does to charge my battery on my jacket. So
my buddy Jason, when we were in Massachusetts for that gas line disaster that we were there for like several months for, he ended up buying one, and he could charge his phone off of it while he was standing outside all day. And the jacket would last him all day long. They don't make them as far as I know in my size. I need at least a 3 or 4X jacket. They go up to like 1 or 2X. So I didn't buy one. They don't, and as far, I haven't checked since, but I don't need one now. But I work inside. I don't work outside now. But getting one of those battery operated jackets could mean the difference between. I mean, it could be the difference between frostbite or not. You never know. Yeah. They are kind of pricey, so don't make that a priority. Just have a jacket. Yeah. We'll start with a jacket before you get a battery.
Blankets in the car.
Right. Some granola bars, something you guys can eat. I mean, obviously, if it's cold, the water's going to be an issue because it's going to, it might freeze. I've left bottles of water in my car in the winter, and it's frozen when I get out there, and it never thaws.
You can put it up in your jacket, though, in between you and your jacket.
It'll thaw out a little bit. So, I mean, you can always eat snow if you had to, I guess.
I think that dehydrates you, though.
Does it?
Yeah, because you're taking in a lot, and it's cold when it goes down.
Oh, so your body's heating it up.
Yeah, so your body's heating it up, which is burning more than actually what you're taking in. Yeah.
So just drink your pee, guys. Come on.
Just drink your pee. Drink your pee. It's got to be warm.
Yeah.
And clear.
If it's not, you can put it in the ice and dilute it. Right? I'm making this up as I go. Right. If it's real yellow, put it in the ice.
They call me mellow yellow.
Yeah. Mellow yellow. Dude, I had some mellow yellow today. I don't drink soda that often, but we went out and
seen a mellow yellow and he couldn't resist.
Well, I mean, it was a buffet, and we don't drink soda almost ever, but
yeah,
you know, if there's Mellow Yellow there, I grab some.
Yeah, but I don't ever drink soda. Like,
we don't.
I would say the only time I'll have soda is when I get like a Coke from McDonald's, and I don't eat McDonald's. I don't eat McDonald's, but every now and then I'm just like, I'll be driving home at like 2:30 in the morning, like, you know, a cheeseburger and a Coke sounds really fantastic.
Really good, right about that.
But yeah, that's all I got. You got anything else?
Not specifically related to this topic. However, where's my phone? I did find some articles pertaining to previous topics we have talked about. Mm-hmm. I'm only going to read their headlines to some of these. I'm not going to go into great detail, because it's not fresh in our minds, and I don't think it's worth getting into too much craziness over. But when we talked about whether or not Chernobyl, when we talked about whether or not nuclear bombs are real versus nuclear power, and then we kind of got into Chernobyl a little bit, I did find an article talking, let me find it. I have like 13 pages up on my phone, on my browser. Do I still have it? Maybe I don't. Oh, it's not this browser. It's a different browser.
Secret browser.
Yeah, I use like 4 browsers. I use Google, and then I have an iPhone, so that comes with Safari, and then I use DuckDuckGo, and then sometimes I use Firefox. No, I rarely use that one. But DuckDuckGo is supposed to be private. Okay, so I decided to just look up articles recently, within the last couple months, not super recently, but we haven't done a ton of podcasts this year, so recently for our podcasts. And one article I found, it's titled Chernobyl Stories, The Beekeepers. It's not really a super fantastic like article title. But this one kind of talks about like the bees in the Chernobyl area and how the people that still live there are utilizing the bees for their benefit. I had a couple more.
You know, I just had a thought.
What's that?
You know, if you bypass using Zencastr, you can just stream and record off of OBS.
I probably could. The problem is I never really learned how to use OBS.
Okay. That's fair.
It's not easy to use. There's a lot to it, and I don't have a lot of extra time in my daily life.
I know.
Okay, so another article I found, this is from The Guardian, which I'm pretty sure is a British company. Journal, whatever, newspaper, I don't know. The Guardian, it's Chernobyl, the wildlife haven created when the people left. And then this one kind of talks about like the wildlife that's still there, and that not, you know, never left. And they've got a massive, in this picture they have a giant moose that's just kind of chilling there in Chernobyl. I had another article, I don't know if I have it in this list or not. Yes, I do. So this article is from metro.co.uk, so another UK newspaper company. The Chernobyl residents who refused to leave against all government and safety advice. And this one talks about some families who just refused to leave. They're still alive and well today. I mean, let's see, when was this written? When the article was written. I'm not going to say today, but this was written in October of 2019. So as of when this person wrote the article, the people in Chernobyl that didn't ever leave.
You mean Pripyat or Chernobyl?
Chernobyl.
Okay.
Before it melted down.
Yeah, but that was the factory. Like the city was right. Pripyat, and it was like 10 miles away or something. It
actually says in this article how far some of the people live, but I think there was a pretty wide area that was supposed to have been restricted by the government or whatever. I don't remember the exact mileage, but there was, let's see, it says here that it's not supposed to have been safe for 20,000 years, give or take. Give or take, I don't know, 19,000 years. It says it was 100,000 people living close to Chernobyl within a 20-mile, outside of the 20-mile exclusion zone. So there was a lot of people that lived in the area at the time, and there was about 150 to 300 people who just would not leave. And some of those people are still alive today. Some of them, they have pictures of some of them. They're very old. So some of the ones that may not be alive today may have just died of old age. But whoever did this article went there and interviewed some of the people. And let's see, this is, like I said, metro.co.uk. The name of the article again is "The Chernobyl Residents Who Refuse to Leave Against All Government and Safety Advice." So I'm sure if you Google that, you can find the article and read it. Yeah, so I just found it interesting how, like, it just goes to show that, yeah, nuclear power does exist, but is it really as dangerous as we were all led to believe it was? I don't know. I don't think it was. So just kind of a catch up on some of the other previous shows we had done before. I don't think I had anything. I just remember looking those up and thought I'd mention those in an episode. Was there anything that you want to bring up regarding your, do you have a channel anymore that you utilize YouTube?
No, not on YouTube.
So if you want to follow us on YouTube, it's going to be Campfire Conversationalists is the name of the channel. We have 7 subscribers, bro. 7. Yes. I never promote it, so it's not like I expect there to be any.
That's how it all starts, brother. That's how it all starts.
Hey, there's one person watching right now. You know who it is?
Becca.
No, it's me. She's not even watching. I just have it up because I just wanted to make sure it was running okay.
I will say this. I remember. I'm not trying to boost my numbers. I remember having just 1 and 2 subscribers for like years, like 2 or 3 years. And then one day, I released a stupid video that I was just messing around, because by that point I was just all about messing around, and I released a stupid video, and all of a sudden I get, like, my channel explodes. And it was off of a stupid video that I didn't put any time or effort into. I was just literally messing around. You know, go figure.
Yep. But that's how it goes sometimes. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's all I have on this episode.
We're doing another one, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
What time is it now?
It's like 1:30. I got a couple things I gotta do before bed.
So. Yeah, I'm probably gonna be up all night because I slept until noon and went to bed at like 5 or 6 in the morning. So I'll probably be up late tonight.
Okay. We can do another one tomorrow, though.
Yeah, tomorrow. And then tomorrow, we'll, for people listening, it won't be tomorrow. It'll probably be a week down the road.
Yeah.
What did we say we're going to discuss? I'm trying to remember now.
Let's do something about serial killers.
More serial killer stuff. Ooh.
Yes.
No, I found a while ago what's the word I'm looking for? Study? Mm-hmm. A study done by a university about serial killers. And I found it fascinating because everything that I thought I knew about serial killers in the United States of America was a lie.
Well,
according to this study.
Yeah, according to this study, and I'm not even convinced of it, honestly.
Yeah, so when just
by sheer numbers and components, how you would have to correlate that and make sure that that data is accurate is the FBI keeps a very, very good track record of that stuff. And it's all public information, most of it.
So it could be cross-referenced.
It could be.
I mean, I'm not going to do it tonight and figure it out by tomorrow, but
yeah,
it could be done.
To have it be reliable, you know.
Right. So we'll go over that kind of statistics. And the only reason I want to kind of talk about it is because I found it fascinating that everything that I had kind of thought was the stereotypical serial killer. This study says otherwise. And I was like, what?
Allegedly.
But then again, a lot of what I thought a serial killer is based off of what I've seen in either Hollywood or the mainstream media, which is not necessarily reliable. So it's possible that this this study could be accurate. Again, we'll look into it more tomorrow and figure out what we think. I'm trying to think, was there anything else we wanted to go over? I feel like there was something else I wanted to bring up, and I can't remember now. However, it is time for us to go.
Let's go. Let's go, yo. Yo.
So, follow us on Facebook, Campfire Conversationalist Podcast. Check us out on YouTube, Campfire Conversationalists.
Conversationalist.
I'm gonna just go with Campfire Combo. That sounds way more trendy.
Yo, I like trendy.
Campfire Combo, yo. I will survive as long as I have my.
As long as I know how to love, I know.
As long as I have my butthole wipes on my side, I will survive. I won't be able to wipe my butt. I will survive.
All right, you want to close it out?
I don't even remember with the outro now, man.
I don't know either. All right, well,
I'm John and he's Matt. But not really. I'm Matt and he's John. And we're out.
We're out.
And thanks for listening to the Campfire Conversationalist podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and on YouTube. And tell everybody about us if you like us. If not, don't tell anybody about us at all.